Captain Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge of the UHS Aurora and watched the stars through the main screen. Her ship was one of 12 human vessels exploring this part of space. They had been traveling for 3 months looking for new worlds and new life. Lisa was 35 years old with short black hair and dark eyes. She had been a ship captain for 8 years and loved her job. Commander Amy Brooks walked up to Lisa and pointed at the screen. Amy was Lisa's second in command and her best friend. She had blonde hair and blue eyes and always thought carefully before making decisions. Amy looked worried about something. "Captain, we are getting strange signals from the next star system," Amy said. "Lieutenant Kate Sullivan thinks it might be some kind of battle." Lisa turned to look at Kate, who was sitting at the weapons control station. Kate was 28 years old with red hair and green eyes. She was very good at her job and always wanted to fight when there was trouble. Kate was looking at her screens with great interest. "Captain, there are definitely 2 different groups of ships fighting each other," Kate said. "The energy readings are very strong. This is a big battle." Lisa thought for a moment. Human ships had never seen alien life before. If there really was a battle happening, this would be the first time humans met other species. She knew she should be careful, but she also wanted to help if someone needed it. "Take us closer, but keep us hidden," Lisa ordered. "I want to see what is happening." The Aurora moved toward the battle. As they got closer, Lisa could see the most beautiful sight she had ever witnessed. There were dozens of ships fighting in space, but these ships were like nothing she had ever imagined. Some of the ships looked like they were made of crystal and light. They moved like dancers in space with smooth curves and glowing engines. The other ships were dark and angular with sharp edges and red lights. Amy looked at the screen with wonder. "The crystal ships are so beautiful. They look almost alive." Kate was studying her weapon readings. "Captain, the crystal ships are losing badly. The dark ships have much stronger weapons and armor. The crystal ships are being destroyed one by one." Lisa watched as another beautiful crystal ship exploded in a flash of blue light. She could see that the dark ships were much larger and more powerful. The crystal ships moved with grace, but they could not match the firepower of their enemies. It looked like a slaughter. "Captain, we should stay out of this," Amy said quietly. "We don't know who these people are or why they are fighting. It's not our battle." Lisa knew Amy was right. Earth Command had given her orders to avoid conflict with alien species. She was supposed to observe and report back, not get involved in alien wars. But watching the beautiful ships being destroyed felt wrong to her. These beings, whoever they were, needed help. "Kate, can our weapons hurt those dark ships?" Lisa asked. Kate smiled. She had been hoping the captain would ask that question. "Yes, Captain. Our plasma cannons and missiles should be very effective against their shields. Human weapons use different technology than what they are fighting against." Lisa made her decision. "All ships, this is Captain Martinez. We are going to help the crystal ships. Attack the dark vessels immediately." Amy looked shocked. "Lisa, this could start a war between humans and whoever those dark ships belong to." "Then we better make sure we win," Lisa replied. The 12 human ships moved into battle formation. Kate targeted the largest dark ship and fired all weapons. The plasma beams and missiles hit the dark ship's shields and caused massive explosions. The dark ship's shields failed, and the hull began to break apart. The other human ships joined the attack. Within minutes, 3 of the dark ships were destroyed and the others were badly damaged. The crystal ships seemed confused at first, but then began to attack the dark ships again with new energy. Lisa watched as the tide of battle changed completely. The dark ships tried to retreat, but the human and crystal ships pursued them. Soon all the dark ships were either destroyed or had jumped away to escape. The crystal ships gathered together and faced the human fleet. Lisa could see that the crystal ships were indeed alive in some way. They pulsed with soft light and moved like living creatures. She had never seen anything so beautiful or strange. "Captain, we are receiving a communication from the crystal ships," Amy reported. "It's in a language we don't understand, but our computers are trying to translate it." After a few minutes, a voice came through the speakers. It was female and sounded like music. "Unknown vessels, you have aided us in battle against our ancient enemies. We are Zarathiel of the Sylvani fleet. Who are you and why did you help us?" Lisa took a deep breath. This was the moment that would change human history forever. This is Captain Lisa Martinez of the human ship Aurora. We helped you because it was the right thing to do. We could not watch you be destroyed without trying to help." There was a long silence. Then Zarathiel spoke again. "Humans. We have never heard of your species. Your actions today saved many Silvani lives, but also created questions that must be answered. We must speak more about what has happened here." Lisa looked at Amy and Kate. Both women looked excited and worried at the same time. They had just made first contact with an alien species by attacking another alien species. This was not how anyone had planned for first contact to happen. "We would be honored to speak with you," Lisa replied. "Perhaps we can meet and learn about each other." "Perhaps," Zarathiel said. "But first we must understand why you chose to fight for strangers in a war that was not yours. Such actions have consequences that you may not understand." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. She had acted on instinct to save lives, but she was beginning to realize that her decision might have created more problems than it solved. 3 weeks had passed since the battle. The human fleet had been invited to meet with the Silvani leaders at a neutral space station. Ambassador Helen Carter had arrived from Earth to handle the first official contact between humans and aliens. Helen was a tall woman with gray hair who had been a diplomat for 20 years. She always followed rules exactly and believed in proper protocol for everything. Admiral Grace Morgan commanded the human fleet that had come to the meeting. Grace was 50 years old with short brown hair and serious eyes. She had been a military officer her whole life and understood the importance of showing strength to potential enemies or allies. Lisa Martinez felt nervous as she prepared for the meeting. Her decision to help the Silvani had brought them to this moment, but she was no longer in charge. The diplomats and admirals from Earth would handle things now. She could only hope that everything would go well. The meeting was scheduled to take place on Harmony Station, a large space station that served as a trading post for several alien species. Helen Carter had chosen it because it was neutral territory, where both humans and Silvani could meet safely. "Captain Martinez, you will attend the meeting as an observer only," Helen told Lisa. "You are not to speak unless directly asked a question. This is far too important to leave to military personnel." Lisa nodded, but felt frustrated. She had been the one to make contact with the Silvani, but now she was being pushed aside. Admiral Morgan seemed to understand how Lisa felt. "Don't worry, Captain," Grace said quietly. "Your actions started this. The politicians and diplomats can handle the talking, but we military people understand each other better than they think." The human delegation boarded shuttles and flew to Harmony Station. The station was enormous, with docking bays that could hold ships of many different sizes and shapes. Lisa saw alien vessels that she had never imagined possible. Some looked like metal insects, while others appeared to be made of living coral. Inside the station, they were met by a tall, blue-skinned alien who introduced herself as the station administrator. She led them through corridors filled with creatures from dozens of different worlds. Lisa tried not to stare at the amazing variety of life forms around her. The meeting room was a large circular chamber with a dome-shaped ceiling that showed the stars outside. The Silvani delegation was already waiting when the humans arrived. Lisa recognized Zarathiel from their previous communication. She was even more beautiful in person, with long silver hair and large purple eyes that seemed to glow with inner light. Standing next to Zarathiel was an even more impressive figure. Lyralai the Star Weaver was clearly very old and very important. Her white hair floated around her head as if she were underwater, and her skin had patterns of silver lines that pulsed with soft light. When she looked at the humans, Lisa felt as if she were being examined by a being of immense wisdom and power. There was also a younger Silvani woman, who Helen had been told was a translator named Mira Lynn. She had blue-green hair and kind eyes that seemed interested in everything around her. "Welcome, humans," Lyralai said in perfect English. "We have learned your language from the data transmissions your captain shared with us. I am Lyralai, the Star Weaver, speaker for the Silvani people." Helen stepped forward and bowed slightly. "I am Ambassador Helen Carter, representing the United Earth government. We are honored to meet you and grateful for this opportunity to establish peaceful relations between our peoples." Admiral Morgan moved to stand beside Helen. She had brought an honor guard of 12 Marines dressed in their finest uniforms. The Marines carried ceremonial weapons and stood at attention. To show our respect for this historic occasion, Grace announced, our honor guard will perform a traditional military salute. The Marines raised their weapons and fired a volley into the air. The energy blasts were harmless but created bright flashes and loud sounds that echoed through the chamber. It was meant to be a sign of honor and celebration. The effect on the Silvani was immediate and terrible. Zarathiel drew her own weapon, a sword made of what looked like crystallized starlight. The other Silvani also reached for their weapons. Liralay's eyes blazed with anger, and her silver patterns flashed bright red. "You dare to threaten us with weapons at a peace meeting?" Zarathiel shouted. "Is this how humans show honor? By displaying their tools of war?" Helen looked confused and frightened. "No, please. It was meant as a salute. In human culture, we fire weapons into the air to show celebration and respect." Miralyn tried to translate quickly, but the damage was already done. The Silvani saw the display of weapons as a challenge to combat. In their culture, showing weapons at a peaceful meeting was the same as declaring your intention to fight. "Your translator speaks truth," Lirelay said in a voice like ice. "But intention matters less than action. You have challenged us to stellar fire. Will you face us in honorable combat to prove your worthiness as allies?" Admiral Morgan stepped forward. "We will not fight you. We came here in peace, and that display was meant to honor you, not threaten you." This made things even worse. In Silvani culture, refusing a challenge after displaying weapons meant that you were a coward without honor. Lyralay's patterns turned completely red, and she stood up from her chair. "Then you are honorless devourers, who threaten but will not. Face the consequences of your actions," Lyralay declared. "The Silvani will have no dealings with such creatures." Zarathiel looked sadly at Lisa. "Captain Martinez, your actions in battle showed courage and honor. But your people's actions today show that you are not what we hoped you would be." Miralyn looked desperate. "Please, there has been a misunderstanding. Both sides want peace. But our cultures are different. We can work through this." But Lyralay had made her decision. "The humans have shown their true nature. They helped us in battle only to threaten us in peace. There can be no alliance with such beings." Helen tried to explain again, but the Silvani were already leaving. Zarathiel stopped at the door and looked back at the humans one more time. "Captain Martinez, you saved Silvani lives, and for that we are grateful. But your people have shown that they cannot be trusted. Perhaps in the future, when you have learned honor, we may meet again." The Silvani delegation left the chamber. The humans stood in shocked silence, unable to believe how quickly everything had gone wrong. What was supposed to be the beginning of a friendship between two species had become the start of suspicion and hostility. Lisa felt sick to her stomach. Her decision to help the Silvani had led to this disaster. Helen Carter looked angry and embarrassed. Admiral Morgan just shook her head sadly. "How could a simple honor guard salute cause such a problem?" Grace asked. Miralyn had stayed behind to try to explain. "In Silvani culture, weapons are sacred. They are only shown when you intend to use them. Displaying weapons at a peace meeting means you are challenging someone to fight. When you refused the challenge, it meant you were threatening them, but were too cowardly to back up your threats." Helen sank into a chair. "We've just made enemies of the first alien species we've ever met. Earth Command is going to be furious." Lisa looked out at the stars and wondered if there was any way to fix what had gone wrong. The Silvani were beautiful and noble beings who could have been wonderful allies. Instead, they were now enemies, because of a simple misunderstanding about honor and weapons. The first diplomatic contact between humans and aliens had been a complete disaster. 6 months had passed since the failed diplomatic meeting. Captain Beth Williams stood on the bridge of the colony ship New Horizon and looked at the beautiful star system ahead of them. Beth was 42 years old, with brown hair and green eyes. She had been chosen to lead the first major human colony outside of Earth's solar system. The system had 3 planets that could support human life. The survey teams had found no signs of intelligent life, so Earth Command had approved the colonization mission. Beth was responsible for 10,000 colonists who were sleeping in cryogenic pods, waiting to start new lives on alien worlds. Doctor. Claire Johnson was the chief scientist on the mission. Claire was 35 years old with long blonde hair and blue eyes. She specialized in studying alien plants and animals. Claire was very excited about the chance to study completely new forms of life. "Captain, we're detecting some unusual energy readings from the third planet," Claire reported. "The patterns are very regular, almost like they're artificial." Beth frowned. The survey teams had said the system was empty of intelligent life. If there were artificial energy patterns, it meant someone else was here first. Could it be a malfunction? "In our sensors?" Beth asked. Claire shook her head. "I've checked everything twice. There's definitely something down there that's creating organized energy patterns. It might be some kind of natural phenomenon, but it looks too regular for that." Major Kelly Anderson was the military commander for the colony mission. Kelly was 30 years old with short red hair and brown eyes. She had fought in several conflicts on Earth and was very good at protecting people from danger. "Captain, I recommend we investigate before we start landing colonists," Kelly said. "If there are aliens down there, we need to know about it before we start building cities." Beth agreed. She ordered the ship to enter orbit around the third planet. As they got closer, the energy readings became stronger and more complex. Claire studied the data with growing excitement and worry. "Captain, these readings are incredible," Claire said. "It's like the entire planet is one giant living organism. The energy patterns are flowing through what looks like a network of giant trees." On the main screen, they could see the planet's surface. It was covered in enormous trees that seemed to glow with soft light. The trees were connected by streams of energy that flowed between them like rivers of light. It was one of the most beautiful things any of them had ever seen. "Are there any signs of cities or technology?" Beth asked. Claire studied her readings carefully. "Not in the way we understand technology, but these trees seem to be processing information and energy in ways that suggest they might be artificial or at least modified by intelligence." Suddenly, alarms began ringing on the bridge. Lieutenant Sarah Davis at the communications station looked up with alarm. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's in Sylvani language." Beth felt her heart sink. The Sylvani were here. After the disaster at Harmony Station, any meeting with them would be difficult and dangerous. The main screen flickered, and the image of a Sylvani woman appeared. She had long green hair and silver eyes that blazed with anger. Her name was Thessamar, and she was clearly not happy to see humans. "Human vessels, you are in sacred Sylvani space," Thessamar said. "The worlds of this system are holy to our people. You will leave immediately or face the consequences." Beth tried to remain calm. "I am Captain Beth Williams of the human colony ship New Horizon. We had no knowledge that this system was claimed by the Sylvani. Our surveys showed no signs of intelligent life." Thessamar's eyes flashed with rage. "Your surveys cannot detect Sylvani Grove worlds because we are one with nature, not destroyers of it like you. These trees have grown for 10,000 years under Sylvani care. They are more sacred to us than your pathetic colonies could ever be to you." Dr. Johnson stepped forward. "Please, we don't want to harm anything. If these are your worlds, we will find somewhere else to build our colony." But it was too late. Even as they were talking, the automated mining ships that had been sent ahead were already beginning their work on the first planet. The mining ships were following their programming and had started extracting metals and minerals needed for the colony. Thessamar saw the mining operations on her screens, and her face became a mask of fury. "You lie with your words while your machines devour our sacred groves. This is what we expected from honorless humans." The transmission ended abruptly. Beth ordered the mining ships to stop their operations immediately, but the damage was already done. The Sylvani believed that humans had deliberately attacked their sacred sites. Over the next few days, things got much worse. The mining ships were attacked by Sylvani biofighters that seemed to grow out of the trees themselves. The attacks were surgical and precise, destroying the mining equipment but not killing the human crews. Kelly Anderson studied the attack patterns with professional interest. "Captain, these Sylvani are very good at warfare. They're not trying to kill our people, but they're making it clear that they can if they want to." Dr. Johnson made a disturbing discovery. "Captain, the mining operations have done more damage than we thought. The metals we were extracting are connected to the root systems of those giant trees." We may have poisoned part of their living planet. Beth felt sick. The humans had come here to build a peaceful colony, but instead, they had accidentally attacked one of the most sacred sites of an alien species. Even if it was an accident, the Silvani would see it as an act of war. Meanwhile, unknown to the humans, two Silvani were meeting in secret. Velandra was the young warrior who had been present at the battle where Captain Martinez had first helped them. Mira Lin was the translator who had tried to prevent the diplomatic disaster at Harmony Station. The humans are not evil, Velandra said. Captain Martinez proved that when she risked her ships to save ours. But our leaders will not listen to reason. Mira Lin nodded sadly. I have been studying human culture since our first meeting. They make mistakes, but they also try to learn from them. This colony mission was planned before they knew we existed. It is not an attack. It is ignorance. Ignorance that is poisoning the heart grove of Silandros, Velandra replied. Even if they did not mean harm, the damage is real. The two Silvani had discovered something else troubling. Hidden communications had been detected from ships that matched the design of the dark vessels that had attacked them during their first meeting with humans. The Korthak Dominion was somehow involved in what was happening. I think we are being manipulated, Mira Lin said quietly. The timing of this colony mission is too convenient. Someone wanted humans and Silvani to meet this way. Velandra's eyes hardened. The Korthak. They have been our enemies for centuries. They would love to see us destroy each other. But there was no time to investigate further. Both sides were preparing for war. Silvani biofleets were gathering from across their space. Human reinforcements had been called from Earth and were bringing heavy weapons and warships. Captain Beth Williams received orders from Earth Command to defend the colonists at all costs. The 10,000 sleeping humans in the colony ship were depending on her to keep them safe. But she also knew that fighting the Silvani would mean the death of thousands on both sides. Dr. Claire Johnson worked desperately to find a way to reverse the damage to the Silvani trees. If she could heal the Grove world, perhaps there was still a chance for peace. But her equipment was designed for human needs, not alien biology. Major Kelly Anderson prepared her Marines for the coming battle. She had fought many enemies, but never aliens who could control living ships and weapons. This would be unlike any war humans had ever fought. As both fleets gathered for battle, a few individuals on each side still hoped for peace. But time was running out, and the drums of war were growing louder with each passing day. Captain Michelle Davis sat in the intelligence center of the human fleet flagship, watching data streams from across the galaxy. Michelle was 38 years old with black hair and sharp brown eyes that missed nothing. She had been an intelligence officer for 15 years and was very good at finding patterns that others missed. Something was wrong with the entire situation between humans and Silvani. The timing of events felt too convenient, and the escalation too fast. Michelle had been studying all communications since first contact and had found several things that bothered her. Agent Laura Kim was Michelle's best operative. Laura was 29, years old with short brown hair and green eyes. She had been working undercover in various alien territories for 3 years. Her current mission had taken her deep into Korthak space, where she was pretending to be a traitor. Michelle, I found something important, Laura said through the encrypted communication link. The Korthak have been planning something called Operation Divide for over 2 years. They've been gathering intelligence on both humans and Silvani. Michelle felt her blood run cold. What kind of intelligence? Everything. Our ship designs, our diplomatic protocols, our military strategies. They also have detailed information about Silvani culture, especially their concepts of honor and their sacred grove worlds. While Laura continued her investigation, Michelle began analyzing the communication records from the first contact incident. She found several anomalies that had been overlooked before. Some of the initial signals that led humans to the battle scene had been artificially amplified. The distress calls from the Silvani had been broadcast on frequencies that human ships just happened to be monitoring. On the Silvani side, Silvarith was conducting her own investigation. Silvarith was the chief spy master for the Silvani fleet. She was an ancient being with silver hair and eyes like stars who had been gathering intelligence for over 300 years. Silvarith had noticed that some of the human colony ship movements had been predicted too accurately by Silvani intelligence. Someone had been providing information about human plans to the Silvani. But who and why? The answer came when Silvareth discovered hidden communication relays near both human and Silvani territories. The relays were using Korthak technology, but had been disguised to look like natural space phenomena. The web becomes clear, Silvareth said to herself. The Korthak have been watching both species and manipulating our first contact. Meanwhile, Laura Kim had infiltrated a Korthak military facility where she discovered the full scope of Operation Divide. The plan was elegant and cruel. The Korthak had been monitoring both humans and Silvani for years, waiting for the right moment to bring them into contact. Overlord Vextor was the mastermind behind the operation. He was a massive Korthak with black armor and red eyes who had spent decades planning the destruction of potential threats to Korthak expansion. Both humans and Silvani showed too much promise to be allowed to develop freely. The humans have crude technology but surprising adaptability, Vextor had told his subordinates. The Silvani have ancient wisdom and powerful biotechnology. Either species could threaten our dominion in time, but if they destroy each other, we eliminate two problems at once. The plan had multiple layers. First, Korthak agents had manipulated the initial battle to ensure humans would encounter Silvani under stressful circumstances. Then they had provided intelligence to both sides about each other's military capabilities and cultural weaknesses. The diplomatic disaster at Harmony Station had been carefully engineered. Korthak agents had studied human military traditions and Silvani honor codes. They knew that a human honor guard would trigger a challenge response from the Silvani, and that humans would not understand the cultural significance. Finally, the colony mission had been guided to Silvani sacred space through carefully planted survey data. The Korthak had made sure that human automated systems would begin mining operations before anyone realized the planets were sacred to the Silvani. Laura Kim copied all the evidence she could find and prepared to transmit it back to human intelligence. But she was discovered by Korthak security before she could complete the transmission. She managed to send a partial message before being captured. Michelle Davis received Laura's incomplete transmission just as the human and Silvani fleets were moving into battle positions. The evidence was fragmentary but clear enough to prove that both species had been manipulated. "Admiral, you need to see this immediately," Michelle told Fleet Admiral Rose Parker. Rose was 55 years old with gray hair and blue eyes. She had been in the military for 30 years and had fought in many battles, but she had also spent years trying to prevent unnecessary wars through careful diplomacy. Michelle showed Rose the evidence of Korthak manipulation. The communications intercepts, the timing analysis, and Laura's intelligence reports all pointed to the same conclusion. Humans and Silvani were being played against each other by a third party. "We need to contact the Silvani immediately," Rose said. "If we can prove this to them, maybe we can stop this war before it starts." But the Silvani fleet was already in attack formation and refused to accept human communications. They believed any contact attempt was a trick to gain tactical advantage. Valandra and Miralyn were working together to find their own proof of manipulation. They had discovered some of the hidden communication relays that Silvareth had found. The technology was definitely Korthak, but disguised to avoid detection. "We must get this information to the fleet commanders," Valandra said. "If humans and Silvani destroy each other, the Korthak will conquer both our territories while we are weak from fighting." Mira Lynn had an idea. "Captain Martinez saved our lives in the first battle. She might listen to us if we can contact her directly." They managed to send a coded message to Lisa Martinez on the UHS Aurora. Lisa was serving as a scout ship for the human fleet and was positioned between the two main battle groups. "Captain, this is Miralyn. I know you remember me from our first meeting. Velandra and I have discovered evidence that the Korthak Dominion has been manipulating both our species. We must meet secretly to share this information." Lisa read the message with growing excitement and fear. If the Silvani were right about manipulation, then the war that was about to start was exactly what their real enemy wanted. She made a dangerous decision. Lisa took the Aurora to a neutral position between the fleets and transmitted on all frequencies. "This is Captain Lisa Martinez to all ships, human and Silvani. I have evidence that we are all being manipulated by the Korthak Dominion. They want us to destroy each other so they can conquer both our territories while we are weak. I request an immediate ceasefire so we can share this evidence." The response was immediate and angry from both sides. Human commanders accused Lisa of treason. Silvani commanders accused her of trying to trick them with lies. But Zarathiel remembered Lisa as the human who had risked her ship to save Silvani lives. She agreed to meet with Lisa and examine the evidence. Within hours, representatives from both fleets met secretly on a small asteroid between their battle lines. Michelle Davis presented the human evidence while Silvereth shared the Silvani discoveries. Together, the proof was overwhelming. "The Korthak have been planning this for years," Michelle explained. "Every major incident between our species has been engineered by them." Silvareth nodded gravely. "They know our cultures well enough to predict how we would react to specific provocations. We have been dancing to their tune like puppets." Zarathiel looked at the evidence with growing anger. "The Grove World damage was intentional on their part. They guided your mining ships to the most sacred sites to ensure maximum outrage from my people." Lisa felt sick as the full scope of the manipulation became clear. "They've been playing us against each other from the very beginning. Every mistake, every misunderstanding, every escalation has been part of their plan." As they were studying the evidence, new alarms began sounding. Long-range sensors had detected a massive Korthak fleet approaching the system. Overlord Vextor had decided that the two species were ready to destroy each other and had come to watch the show. But he was about to get a very different show than he expected. Fleet Admiral Rose Parker stood on the bridge of the human flagship, watching the massive Korthak fleet approach. Rose had seen many battles in her 30 years of military service, but nothing like this. The Korthak fleet was enormous, with over 200 warships of different sizes. Their ships were dark metal monsters covered in weapon ports and armor plating. High Matriarch Elenthara commanded the Silvani fleet from her bioship that looked like a living tree floating in space. Elenthara was over 500 years old and had fought the Korthak many times before. Her silver hair flowed around her like water, and her ancient eyes held wisdom and determination. The evidence of Korthak manipulation had spread quickly through both fleets. Humans and Silvani, who had been preparing to fight each other just hours before, now found themselves facing their real enemy together. "Admiral Parker, this is High Matriarch Elenthara," came the musical voice through the communication system. "The Korthak have played us against each other for too long. I propose we join our fleets and face them as allies." Rose smiled grimly. "I agree completely, High Matriarch. Our species may have cultural differences, but we both value freedom and life. The Korthak value only conquest and destruction." Captain Diana Walsh commanded the human heavy cruiser Defiance. Diana was 35 years old with short blonde hair and determined blue eyes. She had been chosen to lead the first joint human Silvani squadron. Working with her was wing singer Yaraveth, a Silvani pilot who commanded a group of biofighters. "Captain Walsh, our ships must learn to work together quickly," Yaraveth said. "Silvani bioships can heal themselves and share energy, but your metal ships have stronger armor and more powerful weapons." Diana studied the tactical displays. "If we combine our strengths, we might have a chance. Your ships can provide support and healing while ours deliver the heavy firepower." Dr. Claire Johnson had been working frantically to understand Silvani biotechnology. Her research into the Grove World damage had taught her much about how Silvani systems worked. She had discovered that human and Silvani technologies could work together in ways that neither species had imagined. "Admiral, I think I can create interface systems that will let our ships share power and information with Silvani bioships," Claire reported. "It would be like creating a living network between our fleets." The Korthak fleet continued its approach. Overlord Vextor was confident that he would find two weakened fleets destroying each other. Instead, he found something that made his blood run cold. Human and Silvani ships were flying in mixed formations, working together like they had been allies for years. "How is this possible?" Vextor demanded of his intelligence officers. "Our manipulation should have made them destroy each other by now." His subordinates had no answer. The careful planning of Operation Divide had been exposed, and both species now knew the truth. Instead of two enemies, the Korthak faced a unified alliance of the two most dangerous species they had ever encountered. Captain Lisa Martinez flew the Aurora alongside Velandra's biofighter. The two ships had been modified with Dr. Johnson's interface technology and could now share sensor data and energy. Lisa and Velandra had become friends during the crisis and worked together like a perfect team. Human ships. This is Velandra. Our biosensors show weak points in Korthak armor around their engine ports. If you can target those areas while our ships provide distractions, we can cause maximum damage. Copy that, Velandra, Lisa replied. Aurora Squadron will focus on engine targets. Your people keep them busy so they can't concentrate their fire on us. The battle began when the Korthak fleet opened fire with massive energy weapons. The combined human and Silvani fleets scattered into attack formations that used the best tactics of both species. Human ships provided heavy firepower while Silvani bioships used their speed and agility to confuse the enemy. Captain Beth Williams had evacuated her colonists to the safety of the asteroid belt, but kept her ship in the fight. The New Horizon was not a warship, but her crew was determined to help defend their new home. Captain, we can use our mining equipment as weapons, suggested Chief Engineer Nancy Roberts. The plasma cutters and explosive charges could do serious damage to Korthak hull armor. Beth smiled. Do it. Let's show these Korthak that even civilian ships can fight when protecting their families. The tide of battle shifted as human adaptability combined with Silvani wisdom. Human ships learned to use bioship healing abilities to repair damage during combat. Silvani ships learned to coordinate their attacks with human heavy weapons for devastating effect. Major Kelly Anderson led a daring assault on a Korthak command ship. Her Marines worked with Silvani warriors who could move through space without life support suits. Together they boarded the enemy vessel and destroyed its command center. The Korthak are tough, but they're not used to fighting enemies who work together this well, Kelly reported. Their tactics assume that their opponents will fight as individual ships, not as a unified force. Overlord Vextor watched his carefully planned victory turn into a disaster. The humans and Silvani were not. Just fighting together, they were learning from each other and becoming stronger with every moment of combat. All ships, focus fire on the human flagship, Vextor ordered. If we can break their command structure, their alliance will fall apart. But the Korthak had underestimated both species. When Rose Parker's flagship was surrounded and under heavy attack, Silvani bioships immediately moved to defend it. Human ships did the same when Ellen Thara's vessel was threatened. Dr. Johnson's interface systems proved crucial to the battle. Human and Silvani ships could now share not just power and information, but also tactical thinking. The combined fleet began to fight like a single organism with the intelligence of both species guiding its actions. Agent Laura Kim had managed to escape from Korthak captivity during the confusion of battle. She transmitted the location of Overlord Vextor's command ship to the Allied fleet. All ships. This is Agent Kim. The Korthak Supreme Commander is on the large battleship at coordinates 77 Alpha. If we can take him down, their fleet will lose coordination. Captain Diana Walsh and Wing Singer Yaraveth led the final assault on Vextor's ship. Their combined squadron punched through the Korthak defenses using human firepower and Silvani precision. Lisa Martinez delivered the killing blow when the Aurora and Velandra's biofighter attacked together. Their ships had become so synchronized that they moved like partners in a deadly dance. The combined attack breached the command ship's armor and destroyed its main reactor. Overlord Vextor died when his ship exploded, and with him died the last hope of Korthak victory. The remaining enemy ships retreated in disorder, their invasion, plans in ruins. In the aftermath of battle, humans and Silvani worked together to heal the wounded and repair the damaged. The Grove world that had been poisoned by human mining was slowly restored using combined human and Silvani technology. High Matriarch Ellen Thara and Fleet Admiral Rose Parker met in person for the first time on Harmony Station. The same place, where diplomacy had failed before, now witnessed the birth of a true alliance. Your species fought with great courage today, Ellen Thara told Rose. The Silvani have found worthy partners among the stars. Rose smiled. Your people showed us that strength comes from more than just weapons and armor. Together, we are stronger than either species could be alone. Captain Lisa Martinez was promoted to Admiral for her role in uncovering the Korthak plot and building the alliance. Velandra became the first Silvani officer to serve aboard a human ship. Miralyn established the first joint cultural exchange program between the two species. Dr. Claire Johnson's biotechnology interfaces became the foundation for a new type of starship that combined the best of human engineering and Sylvani bioscience. These ships would explore the galaxy and defend both species from future threats. The colony that had almost started a war became the first joint human-Sylvani settlement. Humans and Sylvani worked together to build cities that were both technological marvels and living ecosystems. Years later, when other species asked how humans and Sylvani had become such close allies despite their very different cultures, the answer was always the same. They had faced a common enemy who tried to destroy them both and learned that their differences made them stronger when they worked together. The Korthak Dominion never recovered from their defeat. Their empire crumbled as other oppressed species rose up against them. The alliance between humans and Sylvani became a beacon of hope for freedom-loving beings throughout the galaxy. And in the space where two fleets had once prepared to destroy each other, a monument was built to commemorate the day when enemies became friends and the galaxy became a little bit safer for all who loved peace and freedom.